I don't like the way they got this case set up.
Welcome back into live now from
What's up? What's going on, y'all? What's happening? Yesterday, some things kind of transpired in the courtroom because I said I was gonna keep up with this. So everybody, welcome back to the show. Man, y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, all those good things. New people, welcome. Talking about the Karmelo Anthony trial. I think yesterday they showed some footage, and I was getting conflicting stories because some people were saying one thing, and then I seen a video where a guy, he was saying something totally different. But in that aspect, I honestly think that that's just one of them cases again where you got somebody who is just really just being more biased and not really telling it like it is instead of just keeping to the facts, kind of just having their own speculation about what happened, even though this person saw the video simply based on race or whatever the case may be. So y'all also make sure y'all answer the poll in the chat where I said, what did I say exactly? I said, are people still speculating too much instead of sticking to the facts when it comes to this case? So y'all answer that poll for me because I really want to know. But let me go ahead and play. I don't even know what I want to start with, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna play a few clips and then y'all just kind of follow along and I'll just let y'all know what's been happening so far during the trial. Um, I guess I'll play this clip, just kind of seeing where it is.
Boxing, we want to switch gears here and pivot to a case that has really grabbed the nation's attention here. I want to bring this post from Fox 4 News up on your screen here. This says opening statements began Thursday in the murder trial of Frisco ISD students Karmelo Anthony after a jury with no black members was finalized following a contested selection process. So we want to bring you
What's up, Miss
what we
Courtney?
know of the latest with this trial, as it will be going on to day 2 today, as opening statements began yesterday morning in the murder trial of the Frisco ISD student accused of fatally stabbing another student at a track meet. Karmelo Anthony, now 19 years old, faces a murder charge in the death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Police said Anthony and Metcalf got into an argument over seating in a stadium stands on April 2nd, 2025, which escalated when Anthony allegedly stabbed Metcalf in the chest with a pocket knife. The trial is expected to last approximately 2 weeks. If convicted, Anthony faces a maximum sentence of 5 to 99 years or life.
Okay, we don't really need a recap. Let me just go straight to Miss what's her name? Miss Queen Sheba. I've been following her. She's on YouTube. I just want y'all to hear what she got to say because she is giving it unbiased an opinion. Not an unbiased opinion, but she's being unbiased about the situation and she's just telling it like it is because she was in the courtroom on the side where I think you can actually see what's happening. You're not in the courtroom, but I think you can view from some type of screen and she's reporting on it that way. So I'll play that.
A life has been lost. That's what I want to say. That's how I choose to set the tone.
You say you smell an automatic appeal. If nothing else, the jury on his peers. Now, I had a problem with this. You know what I mean? I don't know how you're gonna feel about this, Miss Courtney, but see, I'm of the opinion. I think he's guilty. I think what he did was wrong. I don't think it should warrant him going to jail for life or nothing like that. But just by me saying that he's guilty, that still doesn't mean that I'm one of these people who think that he is, he shouldn't have some people of his peers on that jury. Like once I heard there was nobody black on that jury, I definitely had a problem with that. And I definitely spoke up about that. Because I just do. I mean, whether I feel like he's guilty or not, I feel like it should definitely be some people who's on his side when it comes to this jury. It just has to be. It looks bad when you don't have anybody who can actually be in the courtroom reporting on it live or some type of cameras in the courtroom. And then we're in the state of Texas where people already perceive this whole state just to be racist. And then on top of that, he doesn't even have no black jurors like that. It just looks bad. So that alone could warrant him filing for an appeal automatically if he is found guilty. Because we don't know if he's going to be found guilty or not. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's guilty. It just doesn't. You say, I agree, he's guilty, but he is entitled. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. That's what we see. I'm glad that you're a black person who's saying this and not just me, because I know if other people was to come over here and they have came over here and see me as a black person, they think that I automatically have to just side with the black person and feel like, oh, he's in the wrong. I mean, I said, no, he's in the right. They jumped him. They got all these narratives that they pushed about him. And just to see another black person who is reasonable to say, look, I think he did do something wrong. But at the same time, I can still be on the side and say, no, he still has to have a fair trial. Just like she's saying, like, I don't understand why people make it seem as if people who have my opinions about things as if I just want black people to go down. That's not true. I just want us to stick to the facts and be honest, because that's the only way we're going to beat a lot of this so-called white supremacy shit that y'all talking about. If you be honest about what's going on, man, that'll defeat a lot of shit that goes on in our community. Just be honest. But let me go ahead and continue before I start just rambling.
So yeah, and I know how that feels because I lost a brother about 1.5 years, almost 2 years ago. So yeah, that pain never goes away. But in spite of all of that, it has to go through the legal system. And Karmelo Anthony has to get a fair trial. Will he get one? I think both sides have done the best that they could to select a proper jury. And let me just tell you something.
Say guilty.
A juror was in tears today.
Hold on, why I can't see his? Okay, it just popped
She
up.
was in tears today. Now this juror.
I'm gonna stop it one more time. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna play it. I just gotta read some comments that I just saw. Gen X said guilty. That ninja is guilty. Uncle Ruckus. Nah, I think he guilty. He definitely guilty, bro. In my opinion, he's guilty. But as far as the trial is concerned, we just gotta see. We just gotta see.
That was in tears today is an older white woman. And y'all know I nicknamed jurors. I nicknamed her Miss Barbara. When one of the key witnesses testified, Coach Robert Starr, who's the head coach for the Memorial High School track team, testified regarding the events that happened and what he witnessed and some of the details that were very uncomfortable, but hey, it brought her to tears. And the guy next to her, the gentleman next to her, that was a male, those 3 black jurors, other than the fact that they were A's, that come close to resembling being led by Bill Mitchell, the defense, I'm gonna say anywhere between 130. Coach Rob Starr, he's the head coach of the track team for Memorial. They called Tiffany Whitaker. She's a lead athletic trainer from Memorial High School. They called a gentleman by the name of, I wrote Vince Cooper, but it's actually Hooper. So when you hear small mistakes like that, it doesn't mean that somebody's not credible, because we're having to try to strain to hear them when they're saying their name. So his name is Vince Hooper. He's the head football coach at a high school called Heritage. They also called a gentleman by the name of Mike Porter. He's a lead forensic digital analyst for Tarrant County. And then they called, give me 1 second. There's one more witness. I have a lot of notes. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I didn't get to witness the fifth witness because the judge closed the doors. He said, be back at 5 p.m. He gave us a break. I was back right at 5 p.m. I think he meant 4:59. So myself, along with 3 others, were locked out of the courtroom, and our personal belongings were in the courtroom, and the judge says, I don't care. So now I know when the judge says 5 p.m., he means 4:58. It's a very strict program. Okay. The jury was escorted in, and I gave you the demographics of the jury. The charges were read to the jury on the behalf by the judge, and then Karmelo Anthony was asked to plead guilty or not guilty. Karmelo Anthony, out of his own mouth, says, I plead not guilty. The state started off strong. Now, let me give you a little bit about the state to give you an idea. Let me pull it up real quick to give you some pictures because you're not there. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to get you some pictures. Hold on. This is the gentleman that led the direct exam, the direct examination on the behalf of the government. He did a really good job. He's very tall. I'm going to say he's probably 6'7". His name.
Let me double check.
This gentleman right here. Oh, he's good, y'all. And I'm going to tell you the truth now. Right here. This is the gentleman that led the opening statements for the government. Prosecution Bill Worski. He's the first assistant district attorney. He's strong. He's powerful. He came out the gate
First
and he was
degree,
using
Dark
words
King.
like
First degree.
provoke. Karmelo Anthony, this guy, Karmelo Anthony, provoked Austin Metcalf into touching him. They have no prior relationship. They didn't know each other. And this is something that I want you to know that came out in the opening statements on the behalf of the government. Austin Metcalf died at the stadium that day.
Before she goes on any further, y'all did hear the part in the beginning where they said they did not know each other, right? Now, this goes to my points earlier where I was telling y'all that so many people was running around speculating, saying that they had already had all of these prior run-ins, you know, saying Karmelo met these two boys at a party and they got into it, or they had some type of other altercation outside of this. And I was telling y'all that's not true. That's not true. You haven't read that anywhere. You don't know the facts. You're just making speculations because you want to try to spin a certain narrative on the behalf of Karmelo Anthony, and you're not doing anything but making it worse for Karmelo Anthony as when people just make these speculations out and just throw stuff out there. Because now you got other folks that's repeating this and they running around acting like, oh yeah, it is a conspiracy against Karmelo. Oh yeah, it is something wrong that they're doing against Karmelo. Like, no, you gotta just stick to the facts. Just stick to what's being reported. Just stick to what you read. Just like when I read the report, just stick to that. You don't have to jump to any of these conclusions. Oh, it was a cleat sharpener that he had. You don't have to do all of that. Just stick to what you know. Yeah, they made up too much stuff for him. It was crazy what I was seeing and what I was hearing. I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe it.
Are you following? He was pronounced dead at the hospital. But if we're talking technicalities, he died at the stadium. And Bill, the first assistant DA, made sure that the jury know that Austin passed away at the stadium on April 2nd, 2025. And Bill went on to say, this is not a self-defense case. This is not a racial case. This young man taunted Austin Metcalf into touch me and see what happens. Touch me and see what happens when he knew he had a knife hidden. And he took it after Austin touched him and he plunged it into Austin's heart. He said this was simply senseless and deadly dangerous. We're going to introduce to you a surveillance video that's going to show you what Karmelo Anthony did
That's crazy.
to Austin Metcalf.
Yeah.
And as he was speaking, I was focused on a jury. And he sold them. They were honed in on his every word. They were intent on his every word. And then he said to the jury, Austin Metcalf got a text that morning from the coach to step up and help the team out. And I knew where he was going with that, because I believe that introduction gives way to the question of why would Austin approach Karmelo? Because that morning, according to Mr. Bill, the coach had texted Austin, as well as a few other boys on the team, that I need y'all to step up and help the team out. Mr. Bill describes the tent. And he says, Austin, yes, I am at the trial. Austin and Hunter Metcalf were in the tent first. That's a fact. Karmelo, listen, y'all, I'm telling y'all facts. Austin Metcalf and Hunter Metcalf were in the tent first, according to the government. Approximately 2 minutes later, Karmelo Anthony entered that tent. The government explains that Karmelo was confronted by many, not just Austin, not just Hunter. According to the government, Karmelo was asked to leave several times by many under the tent. The state argued that Austin was exuding leadership that his coach asked him to do, that Austin didn't want a physical altercation with Karmelo. And at the time that Austin Metcalf was stabbed, according to the government, he had no idea that he was stabbed. They said he attempted to turn to his left. He attempted to turn to his right. He lifted up his shirt and he says, I was stabbed. Kids began to run out of fear. And when Austin lifted up his shirt, there was a gaping wound in his heart. Austin attempted to take a couple of steps. He stumbled and he fell. Hunter Metcalf, according to the government, attempted to render aid. Kids began running. All right, let's do a mic check. Let me do a mic check. I apologize. My computer just told me it was time for me to go to bed. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Just give me a 1 in the chat. All right, thank you. Hunter, when Austin lifted up his shirt, he realized he was stabbed. He attempted to take a step. He stumbled and he fell. Kids began to run in a panic, screaming, yelling. It became mayhem in the stadium. Kids began, a few people were chasing Karmelo, pointing out, it's him, it's him, it's him. Karmelo is reported as having said, he touched me, he touched me, he touched me first. At that point, I looked over to the defense, and the defense was passing notes back and forth. The government then hones in on the sentence that Karmelo says, I'm not alleged, I did it. So then the government says Karmelo lied to the police when he said, I told him not to touch me. I told him not to touch me. He said, that's a lie. Because what you actually
that's going to have to be verified by one of these witnesses. One of these other high school kids who were standing around, they're going to have to ask them, did Karmelo Anthony actually say, don't touch me, and I'm warning you not to touch me? And even then, you still going to have to take into consideration that all of these are on the side of Austin. Like, I get it. But you still have to take all of these things into consideration. But we know that they're not. They're just going to go because if the student says yes or no, they're just going to base it off of that. Period. But yeah, I think he went under that tent because I think she's going to end up telling you why he went under that tent, because he knew one of the kids from that other school and it was raining and he was under that tent. And Austin did push him. Now, I said this a long time ago. I think he did push him. But this still does not warrant somebody stabbing you and killing you. I don't care what nobody says. We got to keep it in perspective. These are high school kids. Kids do this shit all the time. Talk shit to each other, threaten each other, push each other. None of that shit warrants somebody being dead. I've seen plenty of altercations where somebody was picking on somebody in the lunchroom. That does not warrant them end up being killed in the lunchroom. Like, come on, we got to be reasonable. We sit up here. Some folks are trying to say, oh, yeah, it was definitely self-defense because Austin did this and he pushed him and they was threatening him. No. Most things in high school, when somebody is picking on you, leads to a simple fight. We go to the office, somebody's parents are called, and that's the end of it. Or it goes on for a couple of days, and we get into more scuffles. Not somebody actually killing each other. Like, come on, man. Like, just be honest. Darkin say, only issue I have with the kid who was stabbed is why he didn't get someone of authority to approach Carmelo Anthony instead of himself pursuing the issue. Yeah, I think, like they said, he probably was thinking, I'm gonna be in a leadership role. But at the same time, I agree with you too. He could have said, hey man, why don't you get out of our tent? Because they high school kids, right? They high school kids. He goes, man, get out of our tent, bro. Like, why don't you go over there with your team? And then once he doesn't leave, then I'm gonna tell the coach, hey, coach, we got this kid over here just hanging out under our tent. He don't even play with, he's not on our team or anything like that. He gotta go. Like, that's when you do it. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Say that's a key factor too. Yeah.
He said was, touch me and see what happens. At this point, I looked at the jury and I noticed there was one juror who was sneaking glances at Carmelo Anthony while the state presented their case. I'm going to call her Linda. So the state got straight to the point. They did not take 20 minutes for opening statements, and they passed the floor to the defense.
All the time, Dart.
The defense was led, the opening statement on the behalf of the defense was led not by Mike Howard, but it was led by his partner. And unfortunately, his partner isn't listed on this screen share I have. But what the defense, let me just tell you a little bit about them. Here are my notes. The defense was not as loud. They were not as powerful as the government. As the defense spoke and gave their opening statements, I noticed and observed many frowns coming from jurors. The defense attempted, in my opinion, to humanize Carmelo Anthony so that he didn't come across to the jurors as a monster, a cold-blooded monster. Why do you say that? Well, they began to run down Carmelo Anthony's background. They said
now, I never looked at him as a cold-blooded monster at all. Whether I disagree with what's going on or not, or I think that Carmelo is guilty, I've never looked at him as a monster. I've always looked at him as just another dumb high school kid who made a bad decision. That's exactly what I looked at him as. Nothing more, nothing less. Not a monster at all. Never. It never crossed my mind that he was a monster. Never. Say AM had no duty. Austin Metcalf had no duty to walk away due to it being his school's tent. This happened a few miles from my home in Frisco. Oh, you in Frisco too? Okay. I think you did say you was gonna move down here. Yeah, no, but you know what? That's a good point too, though, Gen X. He didn't have no duty to walk away. He didn't have no duty to walk away. But I do feel like he could have, said something to a coach or a teacher or somebody, during that situation. Now, I don't disagree with him telling Carmelo to leave. Like, I don't even disagree with that, because I would have too. I'd have been like, man, get out of here. You in the wrong tent, bro. Like, find somewhere else to be. But he did put his hands on him. That's a fact. He ain't innocent. He ain't a monster. Right. I agree with that. He ain't innocent, but he ain't a monster either. Say the whole self-defense tactic will not work. Austin Metcalf had no weapons on his person. Agreed. I don't think that self-defense shit is not going to stand up, because for one, you got a knife at a track meet, and we all know that a lot of people in Texas have weapons. But I mean, what are you doing with a knife in a backpack at a track meet? At a track meet that I think he was a participant in. I've been in track meets. I threw shot put in discus, like at the track, especially if it was on my campus. Whatever I brought to school that day, that was it. Yeah, even if it was off campus or we went to another campus, I had no intentions of bringing knives or weapons. I would have never even thought about that, because if I felt that way, then what school am I attending that I feel like I need to bring knives and weapons?
He was from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Sorry. Just reading some more comments. Says, just because it being a tent on school property, everyone have their own tents. That's, you know what, that's true also. But I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I do recall people because, you know, sometime in these districts where these other schools in your district, you do know some of these people sometime. And in track, you will kind of run over there for a second and holler at somebody. Or I seen especially the track guys who run the relays and shit. They may go speak to the other team, you know, like just kind of, man, we're gonna do this today. It's, you know, just kind of maybe talking a little shit, having a little friendly banter type stuff. But hey, like I don't think that's not uncommon for other people to go to tents because it'll be girls over there, especially track girls. You know how they look. And dudes will go holler at them or, you know, just say something to them, whatever. Like, that's not uncommon at all.
Louisiana, and he and his family located to Frisco in search of a better life.
You heading back to
Here's
Texas
a
next
fact
month.
that I learned about Karmelo Anthony in the opening statements.
Wait a minute.
He suffers from epilepsy.
Wait a minute. I gotta give I gotta give I gotta give Gen X one of these, man. He done got tired of it, man. Welcome back. I wish I had that welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. What's that? Welcome back, Carter. Yeah.
He has seizures.
South Oak Cliff High School.
As the defense was giving their opening statements and talking about Karmelo Anthony and how his mom
appreciate you, Luma
left
Negro.
her nursing job to focus on raising her children to be a stay-at-home mom, I noticed that Grumpy was frowning.
No.
He gave Karmelo's background. He said he's a varsity player. He's varsity on the track team. He talked about football. He talked about chess. He talked about his GPA. He's never been in trouble. He said he's a son. He has a girlfriend. He ran down all of that, right? But to me, in my opinion, let me leave my opinion off the table right now.
There you go.
According to the defense in the opening statements, the JV team went first at the track meet. They were scheduled to do their events first. And on that fatal day, it was raining on and off. The defense introduced the fact that Centennial High School did not have a tent. What they had was a tarp, but not a tent. And it was a tarp that covered bleachers. According to the opening statements on the defense team, Karmelo Anthony knew someone under the tent named Eddie, and he went to say hello to Eddie. So Karmelo Anthony sat down for approximately 5 to 7 minutes, and everything was fine, according to the defense, until Hunter Metcalf and Austin Metcalf
they were sharing the
noticed
tent?
Karmelo Anthony.
I don't know. I don't think that's what they said.
According to the defense, Hunter Metcalf
Maybe I'm wrong,
was
Illumina
seated
Negro.
in front of Karmelo Anthony, and Austin Metcalf was seated to the right of Karmelo Anthony.
Did I miss that?
Right.
Did I miss that? They were sharing the tent. I missed that? Somebody let me know. Did I miss that? Okay, now Mike says both teams were not sharing the tent. Illumina Negro says they were sharing the tent. Illumina Negro says I did miss that. She said that? Okay, I'm confused now. I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
On and off. According to the defense in the opening statements, the JV team went first at the track meet. They were scheduled to do their events first. And on that fatal day, it was raining on and off. The defense introduced the fact that Centennial High School did not have a tent. What they had was a tarp, but not a tent. And it was a tarp that covered bleachers. According to the opening statements on the defense team, Karmelo Anthony knew someone under the tent named Eddie, and he went to say hello to Eddie. So Karmelo Anthony sat down for approximately 5 to 7 minutes, and everything was fine, according to the defense, until Hunter Metcalf.
That's not what it, to me, Illuminegro, now, me personally, it doesn't sound like that's the case. It sounds like he went to wherever this tarp or this tent, he went to them, because the way she worded it is if he went over there, like where he was, it wasn't a tent, and where they were, it was a tent. That's what it sounds like to me, bro. That's what it sounds like to me, because I do recall her saying later on in this that one team had a tent, one team didn't. John Stevenson said, did they find him guilty yet, and guilty of what? No, they haven't. They're not at that point in the trial yet. They're still going over the evidence. They still going back and forth. Say, make it make sense. To me, that's what it sounds like, Illuminegro, that Austin's team had a tent, tarp, or whatever, and Carmelo's didn't. And he went over there to speak to one of his friends. And then the altercation is after that. Mike says, it isn't self-defense if one person has a knife and the other doesn't. That's not necessarily the case in Texas, I can tell you that. Because you don't have to have a weapon for it to be self-defense. It just depends on the circumstances. You can be weaponless, but if you're bigger than me and you're overpowering me and, during some type of altercation where I'm trying to defend myself, I believe I do have the right to shoot you if I have a gun on me. You can't use deadly force as self-defense against someone who is not armed. Is that true? I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. Let me see. Let me see something real quick. I don't think that that's true down here. Yeah. It says, yes, it can still be self-defense in Texas if the other person is unarmed. So I knew I was right on that. And just to show y'all, he says it right there. I don't know if y'all can see it. Let me see if I can just make it bigger. I'll read it real quick. Is it bigger on this side? Yeah. It says, yes, it can still be self-defense in Texas if the other person is unarmed. The key question is not whether the person had a weapon, but whether you reasonably believed force was immediately necessary to protect yourself from unlawful force. Texas law allows a person to use force to the degree they reasonably believe is necessary to defend themselves. Says, however, Texas law also requires that force you use be proportional to the threat. For example, if someone shoves you, using reasonable force to stop the attack may be justified. See, now that's where I think Karmelo will fall in line with. He got pushed, so he should have pushed or fought back. But to stab, that's, I don't know about that. That's not self-defense. If it says, another example is if someone is punching you repeatedly and you fear serious injury, stronger force may be justified. If someone is unarmed but much larger, like I said, attacking multiple people or causing serious bodily injury, a self-defense claim may still be valid. Simply because someone is unarmed does not automatically justify using deadly force. Deadly force generally requires a reasonable belief that you are facing unlawful deadly force or certain serious violent crimes. There it is.
And Austin Metcalf noticed Karmelo Anthony.
Right.
According to the defense, Hunter Metcalf was seated in front of Karmelo Anthony, and Austin Metcalf was seated to the right of Karmelo Anthony. Right before the defense wrapped up their closing arguments, they reminded the jury, keep in mind, almost everyone that you're going to hear testify is friends or teammates of Austin Metcalf. All right. The defense painted Hunter and Austin Metcalf as aggressive. According to the defense, Hunter and Austin Metcalf surrounded Karmelo Anthony.
No, Austin was bigger.
He was seated.
Austin was bigger.
Position, and he made it very clear.
Austin was bigger, Mike. Austin was bigger.
That Karmelo never stood up, and he was attacked, according to the defense, while seated. The defense also introduced as a fact in the court,
I'm about to play it in a minute,
that as Austin Metcalf and Karmelo were exchanging words, at some point, Austin Metcalf said to Karmelo, I know you ain't got nothing in that bag. In response to Karmelo saying, hit me or touch me and see what happens, as he's reaching into his bag, Austin says, I know you ain't got nothing in that bag. According to the defense, Austin Metcalf initiated a physical attack on Karmelo Anthony. He then introduced the self-defense strategy. And he says the thing with self-defense is you can't introduce it too soon. In that time, according to the defense, Karmelo Anthony had a decision to make. He got all of these kids coming at him. He has these twins coming at him. And he said, so he has these kids coming at him. He had the twins coming at him. And he says, can you only imagine what's going through his head? Because in order to qualify for self-defense, you can't introduce that act too soon. I noticed, and I made a note, that the defense did not say or utter the words of stabbing. What he said is Karmelo defended himself. Karmelo defended himself after he was attacked by Austin Metcalf. And at this point, I noticed the white male juror, that's the younger one that looks like.
Because you know what? This is the point that I brought up a long time ago. Because if that was the case, then this would justify so many high school altercations. Every time somebody picked on you, every time you had a fight with somebody, you were justified in stabbing them and shooting them. How many dead school kids would we have if everybody thought like this? Oh, yeah, they was attacking him. So, yeah, he could stab him. Yeah, he could stab him. Well, damn. Everybody in high school is going to be stabbed and shot. The girls have way more fights in high school than boys do. I can tell you that. I know that. Girls are always getting into fights. So they should be justified in stabbing and shooting each other. People are just, I think we get into this mode where you fall back in line with race. White versus black. You see the whole white versus black thing. The media has played it up. And now you think, oh, if you white, then yeah, Karmelo should definitely go to jail for life, and he did something totally wrong. And then if you black, you think that this was totally justified, and they was picking on him. But if you swap the races, and if it was Karmelo who got killed, then all the black people would be like, man, Austin need to get life. Austin need to go to jail forever. He just killed that boy. He didn't have no business killing that boy. And then if you was white, then you would be saying, oh, it's justified. Austin was just defending himself. And that's what we got to get out of. Just stick to the facts. Just stick to what happened and realize that these are high school kids and things shouldn't have escalated to the point that they've escalated to. That's just common sense. The instrument went intercostal directly into the heart. Not even internal cardiac massage would have saved him. I'd be locked up. Same reason you couldn't run over a group of people attacking you in a car. Yeah. Says, I wouldn't be here if that was the case. I got into a few fights during my high school years in the early 90s. Exactly. According to these people, you would be justified stabbing and shooting folks. HRP Fayetteville says, yeah, I know that's right. Mean girls are real. Man, mean girls are real. Girls are worse than boys when it comes to that shit. Love fighting each other over nothing. You think boys fight over nothing in high school? Girls fight over nothing in high school. Hell, they can have a secret vendetta against you, and if you sit in their chair one day, it's over with. Like, we got to tear the whole school up. He had skilled hands, but he's stuck in an unarmed person. I don't know. I guess. I don't know if he had skilled hands. I guess you're trying to say he was a boxer or something, or was in martial arts. I don't know. And back then, people had gun rack. Bro, I don't know how many times I've told people this in this chat, Gen X. In Texas, in high school, I seen tons of people with gun racks in the back of their trucks, shotguns, all kind of shit, weapons. And we was fighting. Nobody ever said, man, go get that gun out the back of your truck and shoot this motherfucker. Go get that knife and stab this motherfucker. Nah, we just be brawling in the parking lot. And when it's over with, and or teachers and shit start running, we bust out running, get in our cars and go home. And we'll go meet you at the park. We'll meet you at the local park and we'll duke it out. Nobody ever thought about, man, I'm just gonna walk up here and stab this nigga. Like, no. I'm just gonna hate you for the rest of these 4 years in high school, and we just gonna fight. That's a fact, man. My understanding is that knives, yeah, they had video of the stabbing. Said my understanding is that knives are not allowed at track meets or any school event. They shouldn't be. I don't know if they specifically prohibit them. No, you know what? They did say that. I don't remember exactly when, but I do recall somebody saying that they had said, they didn't want any weapons at the track meet. If they were both black, we wouldn't be talking about this. You think so? I don't know. You got high school kids stabbing each other. I think this will be talked about. I think it's just more polar. I think it would have probably been on the local news there. Maybe it wouldn't have went national. But I do think that since it's black and white, that's when you're going to get the whole national aspect of it, where people are going to talk about it all over the United States. Nigga said truck meets. You know what he meant, bro. Chill out. It say a white school student deleted his classmate in the school restroom and was found not guilty. I remember that. Hey, can you pull up the name of that? Because I remember that. That happened right after this Austin Metcalf situation, I do believe. And never once did we say, go get that thing. Yeah, never. That was just street shit. The niggas who was in the streets, they did all of that goofy shit. I wasn't in the streets until I graduated. See, in school, I wasn't in the street. I wasn't thinking about going to go get no guns and doing something. Never that. All right, bro, we get it. He didn't mean truck meets. You know that. He meant track meets, bro. Stop. My truck in Louisiana,
God damn it! You can't make this shit up.
Will you stop, bro? Stop putting the truck in there.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
Oh, I ain't even finished reading it. Damn, that's on me, man. I fucked up. I just seen truck and I'm like, I know he ain't finna put his truck instead of track in the comments again, bro. He said, my truck in Louisiana in high school, I had an arsenal and never pulled out a gun or a knife during a fight. Win some, lose some, but I never lost. No, I hear you. I hear you. Think of all the time, then just be deleting one another. No protest, man. You know that's what we talk about over here. Do you know that's what we talk about over here? All of this shit that goes on in our community, they don't say there ain't no speculation on what happened. It's just silence. But when you get the black versus white aspect, man, they didn't came up with every scenario and shit that didn't happen. Just like what we said earlier, they was telling everybody was running around. Oh, they met each other before this. Oh, they met each other at a party and they had a fight. And this I even remember one about a girl, like something about a girl. And then they come out and tell you during the trial that they never met before this altercation, never had anything to do with each other. Cleat sharpeners, all of this bullshit. Instead of sticking to the facts. Matter of fact, y'all make sure y'all like the video. Make sure y'all sharing the video. If you're on the vertical side of the stream, double tap the screen. That's a like. If you're on the landscape side, just hit the thumbs up button. Also, make sure y'all commenting. Make sure y'all sending emojis as far as hearts, 100s, anything like that. All of that stuff goes into the algorithm and it brings more people over here. Also, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. All of that. Comment, everything. I'm going to continue. Fayetteville says, yep, that's how we did it. We was in elementary to high school, really. I'm 54 and still don't know why anybody bullied me. I never even thought to ask him. I was never scared, though. I think boys don't like when you're not scared of them. Yeah, that's when it stopped. When people realize you ain't scared of them, that's when the bullying is over with. They leave you alone after that. Sometimes all you got to do is punch them in their mouth. You may even get into a fight with them. But after that fight, they ain't going to do it. No, they like, nah. I mean, it's pointless after that. That means I'm just going to have to keep fighting him. If I'm going to bully him, then that means I'm going to keep fighting. So they just leave you alone. They might end up being your best friend. Say school rivalry, probably. Could be. Could be. Then I end up with a reputation as a scrapper. Maybe, hey, scrapper, because everybody was at the park. And plus, we were fair kids. It's like you had bigger kids that wouldn't let anybody jump into your fight. And then start into gangs. Could you all imagine going to school without knowing about gangs at all and not having any gangs? If Chud the Builder had an all-black jury, would white people respect the jury's verdict? Nope. They wouldn't.
Like he can be in high school. He looked over to the Metcalf family. At that time, I did a head count, and I made a note, at least 6 jurors don't look happy while the defense is speaking. The defense then moves on to law enforcement being contacted, and Officer Cortez responded, I have the alleged suspect. And Karmelo, according to the defense, responded, I'm not alleged. I did it. The defense's explanation of that statement is Karmelo was not trying to escape responsibility. He owned it at that point. I'm not alleged. I did it. At this point, he wraps up his closing arguments, and the state calls their first witness, Mr. Mike Porter. Mr. Mike Porter is a forensic video analyst for Tarrant County, and he specializes in digital forensic technical services. His job is to take the video evidence that we witnessed today and we saw today and extract data and communicate to the court exactly what's happening in real time without compromising the integrity of the data. So they ran down a background of who he is, his credentials, how long he's been working in that particular role. He has 16 years of experience. He's LEVA certified. That's LEVA certified. He works with audio, video, and still imagery. He maintains the integrity of the video. And he was elected to work on the behalf of the DA. And he helps prosecute case by his expert testimony, okay? Now, while Mr. Mike Porter was testifying, the juror that I named Punky Brewster seemed to be very into his testimony. And I made a note, Punky Brewster may be in tech, or may have some level of appreciation for digital technology, because she seemed to really like the technical aspects of the forensic expert. And when he was explaining the difference between pixels and what pixels meant, she was nodding her head. And when he was talking about extracting videos and what could compromise, what could corrupt a file, she was nodding her head. So I said, she may have a background in tech, or she's a gamer, or she really likes digital stuff, okay? She was very highly engaged during his witness testimony. She was nodding, a visible nodding of her head. Yeah, so we got that for her. The state introduced Exhibit A, and that was an overview of the stadium. The timestamp was 9:49:55 a.m. And when I say 55, I'm talking about the seconds. And it was 4K video quality, according to the expert testimony of the video analyst. They also introduced Exhibit number 2. It was a still frame during the morning. At this point, you have one of the Metcalf twins, who's believed to be Austin. He was wearing a black t-shirt and a black shorts with gray shoes. Exhibit 3 was Hunter Metcalf, had similar clothing as Austin. The difference was the twins had on different shoes, okay? Austin was wearing gray shoes. Hunter was wearing multicolored shoes. Exhibit number 4 was Karmelo Anthony being cuffed. He was wearing a gray hoodie and black pants. There were 2 officers present. There was a male officer and a female officer that was wearing blue gloves. Exhibit number 5 is a west side of the field, timestamp 9:52:44 a.m. You can see Karmelo Anthony enter the frame through the entrance. He looks around the stadium. He has a backpack in his hand, and then he leaves the entrance at 9:52:44. At 9:55:54, Karmelo Anthony comes back into the frame. And then he leaves the field of view at approximately 9:56:07 a.m. It took Karmelo Anthony, listen, this is where you get technical. Watch this. So Austin Metcalf and Hunter Metcalf got to the tent approximately 2 minutes before Karmelo Anthony. At 9:56:07, you can see Karmelo Anthony headed towards the tent. It took Karmelo Anthony approximately 7 seconds to reach the tent. Got it? Exhibit number 6.
Had to be really close.
At 9:53:06 a.m., the victim, Austin Metcalf, enters the screen. There's a second person with him, which was his brother Hunter. And they're walking alongside the fence. And they enter the bleacher area. At approximately 9:54:16 a.m., Austin Metcalf arrives to the yellow tent. So remember, Austin and Hunter get to the tent at 9:54. Karmelo gets to the tent at 9:56. 9:54, 9:56, 10 a.m., Austin Metcalf is stabbed in his chest. We're talking 4 minutes, folks. At 9:56:14 a.m., the left side field of view, Karmelo Anthony enters the tent from the left, according to the video that we were shown in the court. 4 minutes later, by 9:58 a.m., you see sudden movements in the video. At 10 a.m., kids are running and screaming. Well, we can't hear it, right? But we can imagine that they're screaming and yelling. You just see mayhem at 10 a.m. 9:56, Karmelo enters the tent. 9:58, you see movement. 10 a.m., the kids are running. At 10 a.m. 48, you see the first quick movement in the video. Austin Metcalf visibly pushes Karmelo Anthony. You can see that. 10 a.m., Karmelo Anthony is seen moving above the tent, seen running down the bleachers, and then he falls. He slips and falls. He stands up, he runs, and then he slows down and he walks. Then you start to see kids chasing him and pointing at him. Exhibit number 7, 9:50 a.m. 2 groups of individuals are walking. Why is 9:50? So the state introduced the exhibit number 7 to say, you see the twins enter the video at 9:50, and 12 minutes later, Austin Metcalf is dead. At 10:05, 36 a.m., the police vehicle is seen in the video. Karmelo Anthony has been detained. Got it? I'm giving you facts, not my opinion. All right. Now we get into the afternoon. This is a continuation of direct examination by the government. Exhibit number 10 is entered. This is a zoomed in version. We were not allowed to watch this. This is what I believe to be the fatal blow of Austin Metcalf. Only the jury were shown the video. They had a big screen TV that they can roll in and out, and they turned it toward the jurors. We were not allowed to watch it or see it. It was 2 segments, according to the government, of Karmelo Anthony walking in and out, but they focused on the second segment.
You know, this is a good point. This one right here says the black jurors purposely made it so they wouldn't get picked. And I talked about that yesterday, and that really, I was like, come on now, we scream and holler about all of these injustices, and when this same lady who is telling you what is happening during this trial, she was telling you when they was picking the jurors what was going on, and you could clearly tell from what she was reporting that the black jurors were doing and saying things just so they wouldn't be on that jury. Not all of them, but a majority of them. Even the ones who you could tell, she never said they were black and white. You could tell that they were black just by the things that she said that they said. And then we'll say the justice system is against us, but nobody wants to be on the jury. Nobody wants to sit in court all day and have to go through all. They don't want to do it. So some of this stuff, again, is on us. On us. Hell, you know what I found out about the trial, about the child, Mr. Chow? What was his name? Something Chow, the guy who ran down the young boy and killed him. You know what? That was half black. That jury was half black. And they still convicted, found him not guilty. So that, in my opinion, was a layup. That's a perfect opportunity right there, black folks. You got half the people on the jury, but y'all ended up going with a guilty verdict. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Never made past the grand jury to indict. The black jurors purposely made it. You can't have it both ways. Ricky, jury duty, pays $40 a day.
The jury during this time was very attentive. The older white lady that I named Miss Barbara was very interested in the video. Very interested. The younger white male that looks like he can be a high school student that plays football, he leaned all the way in forward. What does this mean from a body language perspective? He's invested. He cares. He wants to know the details. He wants to see it. And when I tell you, I took notes, I said, he's paying close attention. He's honed in. It's almost like he was in a trance. He never broke his focus. As the video continued to play, which we were not allowed to review, the looks, the faces of the jurors changed from interest to looks of concern, furrowed brows. Another white woman on the far end of the jury began to frown. They introduced screenshots or exhibits 13 through 19, which were still shots from the video that were created by the forensic digital expert, Mr. Mike Porter. and it captured people pointing in the direction of Karmelo Anthony. The total video from start to finish was 15 minutes and 21 seconds. At this point, I turn to look at the defense table, and I can see Mike Howard in what I perceive to be somewhat reassuring Karmelo Anthony, and he kind of pats his shoulder. At this point, it's now the defense. It's their time. So watch this. Now I can give you my opinion. At this point, the state rests and they pass the witness to the defense. Here's what's going through my mind. You're in trouble. So then the defense cross-examines Mr. Mike Porter, and the defense begins to attack the video. And the point they make is that the video is so grainy that it doesn't paint the full picture. You can't see hands, you can't see gestures, you can't see movements of the mouth. And the primary argument from the defense is this video is your main piece of evidence, but it's limited. Is that correct? Mr. Porter testified, yes, that is correct. He says, you can't detect full hand movements, correct? Yes. You can't detect full head movements, correct? Correct. You can't detect full gestures, correct? Correct. So therefore, without saying it this way, I'm paraphrasing, it is left up to interpretation and not facts.
And that's a good defense. That's a good defense. You know, to basically attack the video itself and be like, oh, it's so grainy. So anybody can come up with any type of speculation or their own conclusions after seeing what they seen on this grainy video. You can see the video and say one thing. I can see the video and say one thing because we both weren't there. The only people who could really tell you what happened at that time would be the people who was there. So once they actually get these folks on the stand and ask them questions, I think then we'll get a better perspective of what really took place. Now, we've all got our own speculation. Like me, I think, you know, Karmelo was guilty. He shouldn't have done it. And I, you know, things that I think that happened and whatnot. But the true way to understand what happened is to ask some of those kids who was there. You know, even asking his brother. His brother is going to have to be the main witness in this whole incident. He just has to be because he was there from beginning to end.
And then I thought, oh,
it is piss poor
maybe
evidence.
They got something to work with.
The video is piss poor.
Look, some of us were where I was seated. Now the audience perks up and say, whoa, we never considered that. They introduced exhibit number 12. This is the Metcalf boys walking into the stands. The defense asks the forensic specialist, does it appear to be raining? Yes. That question, in my opinion, gives credence to why Karmelo Anthony may have also entered the tent in addition to.
You're not going to see the video, Gracias. Ain't no video. Not for us. Even the people who are there who can watch the trial from another video, like in another room, even those people can't see the video. The only people who actually see this grainy video are the jurors. They take a TV and they spin it around where only the jurors can see it. Not even the folks who are there, not even those people who are in the crowd. They can't even see it. Only the jurors at this trial are the ones who are able to see this video. And this is why I say I think it's messed up. It's wrong for them, for one, to have an all-white jury, and then two, for us to not even be able to see any of this footage or any, like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Everybody know where I stand, but still, it has to be a fair trial. This does not look like a fair trial. It just doesn't. When you have these instances of an all-white jury, no media in the courtroom, we can't see it. It's not public. Like that. This is a trial that should definitely be public. Why is this not public? Why are they still making it leaving everything up for speculation, because even after the trial is over with, people are still going to speculate because we don't see anything. We don't get to see anything.
Going over there to talk to a friend. The forensic expert testified that there was a possibility
we're going to find out.
Could have been raining
Illuminegro.
When Karmelo Anthony entered the tent, but because of the graininess of the photo, and because he zoomed in the pixels, and when you ask the pixels to cover a bigger span of the picture, is not as clear. So he wasn't able to confirm nor deny that when Karmelo Anthony entered the tent, that it was or was not raining. The defense says, can you testify to the jury that the bleacher seat Karmelo may have sat on is covered by the tent? The forensic specialist says, no, I cannot testify to the jury that the bleacher seat may have been covered by the tent. At this point, I made a note. I said, where are they going with this? It's a possibility that Karmelo Anthony sat outside the tent on the next bleacher up. And at this point, I said, oh, the defense is getting into the granular details. I looked at Karmelo Anthony. At this time, he was locked in. His head was turned. His head was turned to the left, listening intently, and he was also taking notes. Grumpy, the juror, did not appear to like this line of questioning. His arms were folded. He had a very cross look, and he was visibly at first I wrote irritated, and then I scratched it out because I said that's kind of judgmental. I don't want to use that word. But then I changed it to visibly impatient. He took a lot of sighs, a lot of deep exhales, and his lips were very pert, like when you press your lips together. I said, uh-oh, they don't like this. The defense cross-examined about who was standing versus who was sitting. He says, can you visibly see Austin Metcalf standing and shoving Karmelo Anthony? The expert testified, yes. He said, but you never see Karmelo Anthony transition from being seated to standing. He said, that's correct. So the juror, there was a juror that when the expert would talk, he would be nodding his head yes. That's one of the jurors that I counted as one of the 6 that I don't feel was happy with the defense. So then the defense said, would you classify what you saw on camera from Austin Metcalf to Karmelo Anthony as a violent shove, being that you saw it from so far away? Let me tell you what I'm talking about. The camera surveillance that the court is relying on was far away. They had to zoom in. So what the defense is saying, if you can definitely depict that a physical altercation was going on, would you classify that as a violent shove? The expert says, no, I would not classify that as violent. I would classify it as movement. The defense says, so wait, you captured Karmelo Anthony leaving, correct? Yes. What term did you use to explain to the jury? He said, I called it a spotlight. I was able to spotlight Karmelo Anthony leaving. So then the defense said, did you use the spotlight for under the tent when the physical altercation was happening? He said, no. But you could have used the spotlight, right? To give us a better view and zoom in on the fight. Yes, I could have. So you could have zoomed in on the fight to show us what really happened and who initiated what. Yes, but you did. No. Why? Because I was asked by the government to only spotlight Karmelo Anthony.
See, and that's where you're going to start to lose people right there. That's where you're going to start to lose people. When people play games like that or they start to be biased, that's where you're going to start to lose people. Now, everything is on the prosecution side as far as the jury and the evidence shows. But if you playing with the evidence in a way like that and the outside and folks who are in total disagreement of what's going on, the speculation is never going to stop because everybody's going to feel like, look, this is rigged. This is definitely rigged. It's definitely rigged against Karmelo. And once again, I think Karmelo is guilty. But outside looking in, all of these different factors, it just don't look good. It just don't look good. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Says the Daniel Penny case was public either. They feel public high-profile racial trials might lead to riots and civil unrest. I know that, which is crazy because if you don't make it public and you come out with a conclusion, it's going to lead to civil unrest anyway. So you might as well let everybody see what's going on. You might as well let us all see what's going on. I mean, why are they trying to not show us this stuff as if we haven't had racial tensions in this country ever since its insemination? Like, let's be honest. Ever since this country was started, we have had racial tensions. What's the difference now? You just don't want us to see the bullshit that's going on behind the scenes, whether it's for or against? Gen X says, I was a sophomore in high school, and at the time, it was dividing everything across. And I remember that. I was a little kid. I have vivid memories of me being at my grandma's house with my parents because my dad used to always go to my grandma's house when he got off work or just, it was just a thing. Everybody, my cousins, we would always be in my grandma's house. And I can remember downstairs, it was a big screen TV and it was the trial. I remember certain things. It was a trial, and I remember the NBA finals against the Bulls and the Jazz. Those things just stick out my head. But that trial, I can remember everything that happened because I was watching it and didn't know what the hell I was watching as a little kid. I was just a little kid just watching something because everybody else was watching. But I was fascinated by it because everybody was saying, oh, this is a professional football player, and he's a Hall of Famer and all of these different things. Illuminegro says, if he wasn't in the tent, then it might be justified in self-defense. What's up, Ambitions? Appreciate you coming back, man. Appreciate y'all coming back. I see a lot of people commenting in the chat, man. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button. Like I say, if y'all on the vertical side, double tap the screen. That's a like. If you're on the landscape side of the stream, just hit the thumbs up. And everybody who's here, I appreciate y'all watching the show. Appreciate y'all checking it out. Make sure y'all leaving comments, making sure y'all just interacting with the show as much as possible. That always helps me out in the algorithm. And y'all always know I don't, I got my Cash App and other things up there. Y'all can super chat, but I don't really ask for that type of stuff. I would like for people to do it, but I don't ask for that. I like doing internet stuff. I like being on my computer. I like doing this. If things go a certain way, then they just go a certain way. But everybody who's here, like I say, I appreciate y'all interacting and commenting, all those good things. John Stevenson says, a violent shove. Karmelo stabbed him from a seated position. Karmelo wasn't even trying to remove himself. Guilty. Illuminegro says, mind blown, with an emoji. Illuminegro says, it's tainted evidence. John Stevenson says, reasonable doubt for murder on and guilty on manslaughter. Reasonable doubt for murder and guilty on manslaughter. Kevin Gracia says Kevin would riot if he's found guilty. Oh, yeah. Y'all going back and forth in the chat. I'm going to let y'all have that. Ambition says, how's everyone? I'm doing good. I'm doing good personally. Let me go past I don't know why I'm clicking on this. They just going at it. I always hit the like, but I already know. I appreciate your ambitions. I appreciate that, which is something that's simple and easy. So yeah, I appreciate you hitting that like button. I already know. There's certain people that come over. I already know they hit the like button and they comment. No, I don't really have no issues with the same people who I see on the daily. I don't have no issues with those people, man. I don't have no issues with them. I just throw that stuff out there just to, just to kind of, for the ones who haven't really been over here that much or who are new. Gen X says, word, I'm in front of my PC right now looking up topics to put out a few videos today as well. Man, bro, I haven't put out that many videos because it's just not, it's not enough topics out there for me. I think I'm going to have to create a video today or two, probably 2 of them. I'm gonna have to find something to talk about, but I was looking up some things like what should I do if there is nothing really to talk about pertaining to my channel. And it was like the best thing is just don't even put nothing out because you don't want to hurt your channel with that. But I gotta put something out, man. I'm trying to stay on the schedule. I want to drop stuff every day like I've been doing, and I done ramped it up to like 2 videos a day if I can, but it's so hard to find things to talk about pertaining to my channel. Gen X says the life of being retired and a YouTuber. And I can't relate to that. I wish I was on that first part, that retired part. Hey, I wish I was with you on there. I'm not there yet. I will be. I will be soon enough, but I'm just not there yet. But hopefully, one day this YouTube shit'll make me retired. That way I can be retired and a YouTuber. John Stevenson says, I believe they will find him guilty on manslaughter and not guilty on murder 1. They could. They could. They could.
When I tell you at that point, it was like watching a tennis match. The jurors' heads were going left to right, from the defense to the witness, like watching a volley. So the defense says, when did you make this video? He said about 2.5 weeks ago. I'm letting it sink in. The defense says when you say Karmelo Anthony was running, at some point you see him walking, correct? With someone holding on to him. He could have ran, but he didn't. That's correct. But you see him being in an embrace. He's embracing, someone is embracing him, correct? Yes. You can also see him grabbing his heads with his hands. You can see him walking with his hands up in a surrender pose. I'm just saying that. I'm describing the pose. It's a surrender pose. Did at any time while you were assessing this video, did you ever see Karmelo Anthony resist? The coaches and the expert testified, no, I did not see Karmelo Anthony resist. They dismissed the witness and they called the second witness, Robert Starr. He is the head coach of the track team of Memorial High School. He's a Black male. This is what I wrote before I got the facts on him. I wrote Black male, of course, that's obvious, in his 40s. So they asked him, how old are you? He said, I'm 41. So I was like, boom. I knew he was in his 40s, but he looks a little bit younger. He's a head track coach, but he's also an assistant football coach. His background is he was raised in Oklahoma. He relocated to Texas. Okay. On the day of April 2nd, 2025, he had 3 coaches working. 3 coaches working the track meet for the boys. He also had 3 coaches working the track meet for the girls. He confirmed that he's also a linebacker coach and was a linebacker coach for both Austin and Hunter Metcalf. He worked with Austin Metcalf for 1 year, and he worked with Hunter Metcalf for 2 years. They then enter into evidence as exhibits 21 and 22. They were photos. Exhibit 21 was a solo photo.
Appreciate you coming through. Metcalf. Ambitions of a rider.
Exhibit 22 was a photo of Austin and Hunter Metcalf.
You have a blessed day as well.
He was able to he was asked, are you aware? Are you familiar with the family of Austin and Hunter? He said, yes. Are they in this room today? He said, yeah, I see Meg and Jeff. So he identified them in court. Now, I'm gonna just tell you what happened. I'm not gonna give you my opinion yet. So Mr. Starr explained that he said the tent business in high school sports is $1 million industry for tents. That your tents mark your spot in the stadium. The tents are designated spots, and schools can have them customized with their logos, with their colors, and it represents your bench, which is similar to football and basketball. He said that a tent should have a coach under the tent at all times. So then the state interrupted him. And let me tell you why they interrupted him. He gave a lot of information without being asked. Okay. So the state interrupted him so he wouldn't get ahead of himself, because he said he was kind of giving a little bit too much information without being prompted. So the state said, wait. Tell us about having a coach in proximity to a tent. Did you catch that? Because he used polarized statement. Initially, the coach used polarized statement. Always, should always have a coach. And the state said, wait, we're not there yet. Can you tell us about having a coach in proximity to the tent? And then the coach said, yeah. Well, for Frisco ISD, the expectation is other students should not be underneath your tent. In track culture, you don't have someone go into somebody else's tent, and weapons aren't allowed. And they said, well, what do you mean weapons aren't allowed? He said, well, it's just kind of understood in Frisco. And what he began to do, and I don't want to go into too much detail, he painted Frisco ISD as superior to Dallas ISD and Irving ISD. And he stated that Dallas and Irving have metal detectors at their school events, but not Frisco.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact, y'all. I got to tell you, that's a fact. Those two ISDs are more known to be more ratchet, especially Dallas ISD. I'm just telling you, that's a fact. Frisco is more of upscale. These people have money. This is one of these newer developed places where, you have people who have better jobs, make more money, better housing, nicer kids. See, I can remember when these schools, like my school, it plays some of these schools in our district now, because where I'm from, we're a country place, but we got a lot of people for our size, and we play the bigger schools. We are considered and my district, it's the best of the best when it comes to sports. That's the 6A district. That's the top. Everybody who is in 6A, that's the cream of the crop. That's the big boys. People like Fritz, they've all moved into that place because these are schools in areas where it used to be small, just 3A, 2A, all this type of shit. They have moved up into these places because folks have moved there, and they have a lot of money that has income and things of that nature. But yeah, she's definitely right about that.
Coach Starr went on to say that Austin and Hunter Metcalf,
that's not true, Gracias.
They are considered throwers.
That's not necessarily true.
They throw the shot put
Stop.
in the disc.
Stop.
And the difference about this particular track meet is it was a district meet, and it was his responsibility as a coach to host it. So when he's hosting this particular track meet, he said there's a little bit of extra pressure. That meant he was down a few coaches, and that was the reason he wasn't in the tent. And that morning, he sent a text to the throwers, which included Austin Metcalf, along with Hunter and some of the other throwers, and asked them to step up and help the team out. The state said, did you enlist other men on the team to assist? Yes. Throwers? Yes. Big boys. He said basically he described them as the bigger boys. They can lift heavy weight. They can help throw up the tents. They can help the girls out, carry the heavy stuff. His intent was for the boys to step up and align with Memorial High values. At this point, they asked him, was there an official rain delay? He said there was no official rain delay. They said, can you tell us what happened at 10 a.m.? Did you have an issue at 10 a.m.? He said, yeah, I had an issue at 10 a.m. with a crock pot. And at this point, everybody in the court began to laugh because he said, what happened is, the ladies run the concession stand, and one of the moms or one of the ladies forgot a crock pot. He didn't think it was a big deal, but it's a big deal to them. They needed a crock pot.
Probably brought the kids something to eat.
Was bringing the crock pot. He stepped outside the stadium at 10 a.m. to retrieve the crock pot.
Probably getting the kids something to eat, because we did that at our school. We had those long meets and things like that. Most people would, have a crock pot of food, because my coaches, they're from Louisiana. The coaches that go from in my school in Texas, they're from Louisiana, because where I live is on the border of Texas and Louisiana. So they always had like gumbo. So it was always like a big pot of gumbo, because those track meets are long. I don't know if y'all ever been to a high school track meet. You could be there all day. So sometimes parents would come down and just give them McDonald's and shit. Like, it's all kind of stuff that goes on during that meet. Man, who is it? Ambitions Overrider gifted a membership, and I really, really appreciate that, Ambitions.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. I really, really do. I thank you. So whoever gets that membership, I have been putting some of these lives, I'm turning them into members only videos. I think some of these Karmelo videos, I'm just going to turn them into members only. So if you're a member, you can go back and watch it or things like that. As I get more members, I'll try to figure out what type of content I can place over there just specifically for y'all, or maybe sometimes if, it just depends. You never know. If I get a lot of people, I just turn the chat into members only thing, just different things like that where it's only for y'all. So, but I appreciate that, Ambitions Overrider. So like I say, anybody who gets that gifted membership, I appreciate that. And y'all should thank her as well. Y'all should thank her as well. Gen X says, yep. Mothers and fathers will bring food, sometimes in crock pots, to our wrestling match. See, I'm glad it's people here who can verify exactly what I'm saying and can tell y'all that I'm just not up here on bullshit. Like, I'm not just talking out my ass. I know what I'm talking about. If I don't know nothing about it, I won't speak on it like that. But I appreciate that, Gen X. I appreciate that, bro. Especially you being from Texas and you older than me, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know what's so funny about members only. I don't know what's so funny about that. Anyway, Gen X says, I'll be expecting that membership only jacket as well. Facts. Hey, I gotta get, if I had some merch, I'd do some merch. I need, if I had like 10,000 subscribers, oh yeah, I'll probably have some little merch out. I'll come up with some little funny shit that I say, some sayings or something, make some t-shirts or some hats or some mugs, just some bullshit. Just some, just for exclusively for people who come around here often. I don't have a problem with that. Gracia says, we only have 13 people listening today. Okay. And I've had 1,500. I've had 20,000 people listening before. And your point? Let me see something. Let me see. This is where I get into you. When people make jokes and shit like, okay, we got Gracia 78-N6X. He has 2 subscribers. Let's put him on the big screen. He got 2 subscribers. He wants to laugh about, oh, it's only 13 people listening. He's got 2 subscribers. Let me see something. Let me click on something else. He's been a member of YouTube since October 2021, and he wants to laugh about what I got. This is somebody who doesn't even have a face on their channel or anything. Don't have a face. He don't even got a playlist of his video, anything. But he wants to laugh about what other people have. These are the type of people that you shouldn't associate yourself with. Because these are the type of people who are bozos, clowns, don't have nothing going for themselves, but they'll point the finger and laugh at everybody else about their misfortunes or what they ain't doing or what they ain't got. And he's the biggest clown of them all. So everybody give him a round of applause because he's better than everybody and he's smarter than everybody and he's done everything that he needs to do to make life Great for him. He's laughing about the people who's watching my channel, and yet he's sitting over here with me. Ain't that true? We only got 13 people watching. He don't show his face. He don't do nothing. Like, man, get your ass up out of here. Clown behavior.
When he entered back into the stadium, he saw commotion. And he began to head toward the tent, and kids were running all over the stadium.
Put a picture on that profile, bozo.
And he said he noticed that the kids were running from his tent, which was crazy. He said for some reason, things were so chaotic, he couldn't get directly back to his tent. For some reason, he just couldn't. I don't know if it was along the fence, but
that's the truth. It's like saying you're the smartest retard in a room full of retards. Yeah. Rent free. Man, get out of here. I can't stand people like that, bro. I can't.
He said his brain is foggy. The memory, everything happened so fast. He said, I just couldn't get my way back there fast enough, right?
Dude probably sitting up somewhere in a wheelchair. He's sitting in a wheelchair. His legs don't work. Now he mad at everybody else. He mad at everybody else. Man, you know what? Let me go ahead and I ain't done this in a minute, but since you want to talk, I can do you a solid.
I've been waiting to say this all year, and I'm gonna say it. And this is a good time. Get the stepping.
Have a good day, sir. See, I let you rock out, but then, you start doing that shit, you gone.
At some point, he drops the crock pot and he begins to run because he thinks maybe the kids in his tent are fighting. He gets to the tent, and this is where it gets really, really emotional. He said he gets to the tent. He sees Austin Metcalf on the ground. At this point, Austin's face has turned purple. There was a gaping hole in Austin's chest. He said he just starts crying. The students are crying. And at this point, he used the word memory fog. He said, Eddie is losing it. I step over Austin's body, like people are screaming his name, coach, coach, coach. This is the way he's saying it. He stepped over Austin's body because people are saying, help Hunter, help Hunter. Hunter is saying to the coach, do something, do something, do something. And the coach said, who is he? Where is he? What happened? Who did this? And the students start to point across the field to Karmelo Anthony, who's on the track field. He said he see Karmelo Anthony walking with two other coaches on the field. The coach takes off. He said he testifies he hops over the fence. He confronts Karmelo Anthony, which seems like according to him, he lost his shit. He lost his cool. He said he told Karmelo Anthony, you're not going anywhere. What the hell did you just do? He took off his hat. He physically threw it to the ground. And whatever the exchange was, the other coaches asked him to leave. They asked the track coach of Austin and Hunter to leave. He said, Karmelo Anthony replied, he put his hands on me. He put his hands on me. At this point, on testimony, under oath, the coach admitted that he was losing it. And the other coaches asked him to leave and pretty much get the hell out of here. He then says that he described Karmelo Anthony as hysterical. He said he hops back over the fence to go to tend to Austin Metcalf. And at this point, they all start to pray. And then people start to yell again, please go help Hunter, go help Hunter. So then he runs to Hunter and they start praying with Hunter. And at this point, this is when the thumbnail right here, this is why we're here. This is when Miss Barbara, and that's not her name, but that's what I nicknamed her. She's visibly crying. She's wiping her eyes. She's leaning down. She took a sip of what appeared to be water. The gentleman next to her patted her and showed her a little bit of reassurance, all right? That's the jury. And I wrote, she's visibly upset, to the point that the man, the juror next to her left, consoles her. They enter into evidence exhibit number 85, which is a mugshot of Karmelo Anthony. They said, is this the Karmelo? Is this the guy you saw that day? He said, yeah, but he looks all cleaned up now. The defense is going to talk about that later. They said, can you tell us what happened at the previous track meet before this fatal day? I need you all to listen in very closely. This is why it's so important to get people into the courtroom that's going to tell you the truth. There has been rumors circulating around on social media that Karmelo Anthony was not supposed to be at the track meet because he was suspended. That's not true, according to today's testimony. Now, it may change later, but according to today's testimony, under oath, the head track coach testified that Austin Metcalf was not supposed to be at that track meet, and that he had kicked Austin Metcalf off the track team because the previous track meet, he became upset with Austin and Hunter because they left the track meet early to go fishing. And as a result, he kicked Austin off the track team. His exact words, I didn't need him there. He said Austin had a crappy, this were his words, he had a crappy throwing season. I didn't need him there, and I kicked him off the team. Under oath. Austin Metcalf, according to his own coach, was not supposed to be there. He was kicked off the team. His words was, I didn't need him there, but he allowed him to come and help out because Austin Metcalf wanted to prove himself. Then they entered into evidence the text message exchange between the head coach and Austin Metcalf, where the head coach says, turn your stuff in on Monday. I'm taking Romir and Noah to district. Turn your stuff in on Monday. I'm taking Romir and Noah to district. And then the text goes on. The summarization of the text is the coach is fussing at Austin Metcalf and Hunter about being selfish and not being team players. He said, you and Red are on an early bus. No, I'm sorry, that's a different text. Let me see, hold on, if I wrote it. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I'll come back to it. I got to find it. Okay. So on that day, Austin had wanted to prove himself that he could be a team player. He was ready to step up. So the coach that morning, the text to help to encourage Austin to step up and be a leader says, you and Red are on early bus. Get the tent and whatever else. Set examples of how to conduct yourself today. Be a leader. You and Red hold us down. They hand the witness over to the defense for cross-examination. The defense starts off, 2 weeks after the death of Austin Metcalf, you went to the police on April 16, 2025, correct? Correct. And you told the police that Karmelo Anthony should not have been under your tent because it wasn't raining, correct? He's like, I don't know if I said that. You don't remember if you said it. He said, I don't remember. But I guess if it's in the police report, I said it. And he says, well, what do you mean by that? He says, I'm a country boy. I didn't see it as heavy rain. I saw it as light drizzle. So at this point, the defense begins to establish the line of questioning to ask the coach to describe what is track culture. Is it true that in track, sometimes you have a lot of downtime? And they used an example. Can an athlete run a race at 10 a.m. and then not run again to 3 p.m.? That's correct. And sometimes they walk around, they talk, they play with their friends, they visit each other, correct? Correct. You said that it's Frisco ISD policy where students cannot go under tents. So the coach replied, no, I don't recall. He said, you said it. He said, I don't recall saying that it's a written policy of Frisco ISD. And the defense said, okay, I want to clarify on record. But it's not unheard of for students to go and talk to each other, correct? The coach said, no, that is not the norm for students to go talk to each other under each other's tent. And at this point, let me give you my opinion. I was a collegiate athlete. I played volleyball in college, and I was a high school athlete. I ran track, I played volleyball, I played basketball. At this point, I was following the coach until he said, it's not the norm for teenagers to go under each other's tents to talk to each other. And that's when I wrote, he just lost credibility with me. Because they do it all the time, whether they're supposed to or not.
Sure
I mean, they do a
do.
lot of crap they're not supposed to, right? And that's when I said, I just made a note, he lost credibility. Okay, with me. So then he says, nope. Listen, I kid you not. Coach Starr said in Frisco, this won't fly, being under somebody else's tent. And the defense said, but wait a minute. But other coaches may not be as strict, may not. And he says, so this is your preference, right? He says, no, this isn't my preference. This is my athletic director's preference. I just follow the orders. The defense then asked, did you know that Centennial didn't have a tent? He said, no, sir, I did not. So your text was more of a teaching moment on the day that you kicked Austin off the team, right? He's like, well, I don't know what you mean by that. He said, you told the police on April 16, 2025, that you really didn't have an intent to kick him off the team. You were just trying to scare him into shape. He's like, well, he says, well, would it be safe to say that you have a lot of pride? The coach said, well, I need you to clarify, explain that. He says, you know, just pride as an athlete. You coach linebackers, correct? Yes. And linebackers are big guys, correct? Yes. How much did Austin weigh? He says, I can't tell you that. I don't know. I don't know how much he weighed. I believe he played maybe at 195 pounds, but he did want to bulk up. Austin did express an interest in wanting to gain weight. Defense says, can you testify that Austin was at least over 200 pounds? I'm not sure. But he definitely gained weight, probably over 200. He probably got close to 225, but I'm not sure. So you told Austin the morning of this fatal incident in your text to, quote unquote, hold this down. Yes, with no other instructions. That's correct. So you wouldn't want Austin Metcalf using physical force. No, sir. Of course not. Shouldn't students go get adults when there's a problem or when things escalate? Yes, sir. But you said you wanted other adults or other coaches should be around because teenagers have hormones, correct? Yes. Can you tell us what you meant? They were skipping all over, right? And can you tell us what you meant when you says Karmelo Anthony cleaned up today? He says, well, his hair wasn't like that. And the defense team said, but was his hair then normal to what kids and how kids normally wear their hair? Yes. So you said that you saw Karmelo Anthony after the fatal incident walking with two coaches, correct? Correct. You have no idea how long he was with those coaches, correct? Correct. You don't know what was said, correct? Correct. You didn't know his state of mind, correct? Correct. He said, but you told police on April 16th, 2025, your words was he looked like he was about to cry. Yes. So they wrapped up that witness. And at this point, I think I'm doing a good job of staying neutral. So I'm going to hold my opinion to myself. Third witness they called was Tiffany Whitaker. She's a trainer, an athletic trainer at Memorial High School. She's been a trainer. She just completed her 8th year. She opened the school. So the school was brand new in 2018. She opened the school. She's a Texas girl. She's a TCU graduate. She received the Bachelor of Science in Athletic Training. She's board certified. She's CPR and first aid certified. They asked Tiffany the culture of the tents. Tiffany explained to the jury that the tent is like a locker room. Now, here's where things I'm not going to say got tricky, but Tiffany in her testimony contradicted Coach Starr, because what they asked Tiffany, is it normal for students to visit and say hello? She said, absolutely, it's normal for students to visit each other's tent. But we don't like them stowing their stuff in tents that they're not assigned to, and we don't want them to stay there too long, right? But yes, it's normal for them to go and say hi, and just don't leave your stuff here because we're not responsible for it. And you know, they can't stay too long because we got to make sure we have enough room for our students. She said, they asked her, were you aware that it was going to be raining and that you guys were under weather watch? She said, absolutely. The athletic director told us. Now, the reason why I say her testimony is contradictory to the head coach is because he said, no, there was not supposed to be any weather. But she said, yes, it was. And she contradicted him because she said the athletic director gave them instructions that if the storms hit, to send the kids to the bus. She said, okay, so her testimony was straight and to the point. Once she learned that there was an incident under the tent, she approached the tent. And at the time that she approached the tent, Austin Metcalf was blue in the face. His pulse was faint. She began to administer rescue breaths and chest compressions. A defibrillator was used. They asked her a couple of questions about the life-saving technique. She said, I can't really tell you because I was on autopilot. I was trying to save his life. Now, let me ask you something for those of you that are tuned in. If there's a wound to the heart, and this is just for my medical professionals that may be in a chat, do you guys still recommend chest compressions if someone has been wounded to the chest or the heart? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Trelene Bell, for the $20 super chat. She said, Queen, please see what's going on. I got to stay on topic. Okay. I'll come back to that. All right. She said she continued life-saving techniques, chest compressions until the paramedics.
You say no breaths only? Or they don't advise you to do chest compressions, just breathe, just give them air? Huh. I kind of figured it would be something like that because if you stab somebody in their heart gonna be pumping and it's gonna be squirting that blood out. So you don't really want to be pushing on it if it's a hole in it, because that blood needs to get to their heart. And if you forcing it out, I mean, yeah, you got to take care of the bleeding first. That makes sense. That makes sense. Flip the script. That definitely makes sense.
Paramedics arrived. When the paramedics arrived, they took over the life-saving techniques and they administered blood. Did y'all know that? On site to Austin Metcalf. Once they administered blood, Austin's color began to return. She was a little bit hopeful, but not confident that he would be able to survive. So then the defense cross-examined Tiffany Whitaker, and Tiffany testified that Karmelo Anthony was seen running from people chasing him. She said she had a brief encounter with Karmelo Anthony after the incident that was approximately 30. She used her hands. She didn't physically touch him, but she put her hands out. You know, if you just kind of put your hands out like to stop, and he stayed. He obeyed her. He didn't run. He stayed with her. They asked her, would you say he's a small guy? She said, compared to what? They said, just athletics. She said, he's smaller, not considerably, but to her, this is what she said. She said, there's at least a 70. Well, they say, is there at least a 70-pound difference between Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf? At least 70 minimum, right? She said that's fair to say. She also testified that Karmelo Anthony was visibly upset and there was a coach embracing him. Why is this important? Because both sides have testified that he showed remorse. We're going to get more into detail. He did show remorse. He became visibly upset after the incident, right, wrong, or indifferent. All right. They asked her about the tents. They said,
now I want to ask y'all a question. Do y'all think that after he stabbed Austin and he was like, is he okay? And the other things that he said, do y'all think that was because he was trying to cover it up that he stabbed him or make it seem as if it was all self-defense? Or do you think it was genuine? Do you think he really was caring about like, oh my God, I stabbed somebody. I hope he's not dead. Do y'all think it was that? Or do you think that it was kind of, well, let me think. These people probably are going to be witnesses. Let me go ahead and say, is he okay? So if we go to trial, then they can ask the question. Well, no, they can say, well, Karmelo did ask, was he okay? And, he had a look of, just confusion where he didn't know what was going on. And I think that he was remorseful. Do you think that's what he was trying to do? Or do you think it was genuine? Also, y'all make sure y'all answer my poll that's in the chat. Everybody who's new to the channel, make sure y'all hit the like button. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. If you're on the vertical side, double tap the screen. That's a like. If you're on the landscape side, just hit the thumbs up. That's a like as well. Flip the Script says, I am really fearful of this case because it is another assault on Black self-defense. Black people are not able to fear for their lives. I'm not gonna comment. Because what I think, it may not be what you think, and yeah, people, I'm gonna try to be like her and keep my opinions to myself. He was sad that it had to come to that. That's what you believe. Say the defense can get him to take the stand to clarify. I don't know if he'll be testifying on his own behalf. I don't think he'll be testifying on his own behalf. I think it would be in their best interest to not put him on that stand. They might. I haven't heard anything about him. May take the stand, but I mean, it's not out the question if they would let him do it or not. I'm pretty sure they advised him not to take the stand.
that have you seen or have you ever witnessed in your career students visiting tents? She said yes. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's what the defense said. She said, nope. Was it raining on and off that day? Yes. Did you know Centennial did not have a tent? No, I did not know that. Would it make sense for students with no tent to duck under another tent for cover? She said, absolutely. Yes.
I think you never know about these types of trials because you don't know what type of evidence is going to be brought forward, how long they're going to take with each witness, the cross-examinations and things like that. They said a week. I don't see this trial lasting a week. I think this trial could last more than a week. I could say maybe 2 weeks or more. I don't think it's like on the level of the O.J. Simpson type trial, but I think this trial could last definitely more than a week. Even once the jury goes to deliberation, who's to say that you may have a few jurors who disagree or, and they may need some more time, and who knows? Who knows?
Can you describe Austin? She said Austin was about average to the bigger side for a linebacker, but not bigger than some of the other offensive and defensive linebackers. She said, for the most part. So then they start to get into kind of like the bravado of athletes. Would you say it's normal for teenage boys to not back down? You know, if they're going to have a confrontation based on, she said that's pretty normal. Would you also say that or agree that most teenage boys, if in a confrontation and their friends are there, they don't like to be embarrassed in front of their friends? She said that's fair. She was a very honest witness. She was very credible. So was Mike Porter, the forensic specialist. So then they went to the fourth witness, which was, I put his name as Vince Cooper, but according to reports, it's Hooper. He's a head.
Flip the script says, I ran high school and collegiate, and people sat wherever. Track and football are different sports, and track is one community. This is strange if this 10 stuff is going on in Texas. Yeah. No. I mean, I agree with her too. I didn't run track. I was a thrower, but the majority of people typically like walked around, interacted with people from other schools. I think I haven't been to a track meet in a while, but I'm pretty sure the last one that I went to at my high school, they put all of the teams on the field. They weren't actually in the bleachers anymore. We used to be in the bleachers, but they put everybody on the field, and they just had their own tents with seats and just different things like that. But they were on the football field.
Football coach at Heritage. He's very likable. So these are all the state's witnesses. Very likable. Raspy voice. Open, light, easy, jovial. He seems very upfront and honest. He barely could speak a few words, and I said, that's an honest guy. According to Mr. Vince, he's 6'2", and he weighs 240 pounds himself. He relocated to Texas after he lost his son in 2015. They asked him, was it hard? Has it been hard on you? He said, I think it's been harder on my wife because I also have 4 other children. So it seemed like the focal point in the questioning was establishing, well, I'm not going to talk about that. Oh, that's a personal note. So he's the head track coach. Yeah, he said that. He's the head track coach since 2018. They asked him about tent culture. He says, your kids go under your tent. You get it? He kept it short and sweet. Your tent, your kids. However, kids do mingle. On April 2nd, 2025, he arrived about 8 a.m. But then at 10 a.m., they asked him, did you leave? He said, I left to go to my car to get batons for the 4x1 relay. You know, they were in the car. So when he comes back into the stadium, he witnesses kids running, they're yelling. He's telling the kids, this was kind of lighthearted. Hey, you kids, stop running all around the stadium. Go back over there, behave, sit down. What are y'all doing? Y'all are crazy, just running around. He's like, he didn't realize what was happening. He's
Man, some should have clicked though. They ain't just running for no reason like that. DJ Segwan says most of what's being said today, those of us from the streets already knew Karmelo defended himself. They just playing the game, shaking my damn head. Free Karmelo Anthony. Like I said, I'm going to keep my comments to myself. But the people who are on my channel, y'all know where I stand. Y'all know what I believe. But, I mean, if I give my stance, then people take it as if I'm, like, on the wrong side. But, I mean, I'm just sticking to the facts. You know, I'm not. Anyway, let me continue.
Yelling at the kids, go sit down. Y'all are running around like y'all are crazy in here, not realizing that a stabbing had taken place. At this point, he's approached by Coach Tiff, that's what he says, shouting, don't let him leave, don't let him leave. At this point, he's like meeting Karmelo Anthony head on. He doesn't know Karmelo, but he said he immediately put his arm around Karmelo, not in an aggressive way, but the way he demonstrated in the court would be like a father figure way. This was sad, this testimony. He just wrapped his arm around him. He said, and we walked. And
hold on, what did she say? I gotta go back.
Karmelo
I was
Anthony,
doing some on my computer, y'all.
And had him at this point. He's approached by Coach Tiff, that's what he says, shouting, "Don't let him leave, don't let him leave." At this point, he's like meeting Karmelo Anthony head on. He doesn't know Karmelo, but he said he immediately put his arm around Karmelo, not in an aggressive way, but the way he demonstrated in the court would be like a father figure way. This was sad, this testimony. He just wrapped his arm around him, he said, and we walked. And he said, Karmelo Anthony said, he put his hands on me. He said, "What'd you do?" He said, "I stabbed him." And he said, at that point, he looked Karmelo Anthony in the face and he said, "You do realize, son, that if this young man dies, you've just changed your life forever." And Karmelo Anthony responded, "He's not going to die." He said, he repeated himself to Karmelo, "You do realize, son, that if this young man dies, that you've just changed your life forever." And he said at that point, Karmelo Anthony begins to break down and starts crying hysterically. He said things are going so fast. Karmelo's crying. He remembered glancing at the field. He now knows, he sees Hunter Metcalf. Let me get the note, hold on the fence being consoled. Like on the fence, just leaning on the fence, being consoled. And then he hear a black kid running towards him saying, "I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill him. He stabbed my brother. He stabbed my brother." He had to physically restrain this black kid, whose name is Eddie. And Eddie told him, "I am going to kill him." And he said, "You can't do that.
Hold on. If y'all been watching this the whole time, wasn't Eddie the kid that Karmelo was visiting under the tent, and now he's saying he's gonna kill him? He stabbed my brother. And Eddie is a black kid. I'm just gonna rewind it.
Being consoled. Like on the fence, just leaning on the fence, being consoled. And then he hear a black kid running towards him saying, "I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill him. He stabbed my brother. He stabbed my brother." He had to physically restrain this black kid, whose name is Eddie. And Eddie told him, "I am going to kill him." And he said, "You can't do that. We can't have two students dead. You can't do that." So he had to physically restrain Eddie and lay on top of him until another coach could come and take over Eddie. And they asked him, "Did Karmelo Anthony's emotions seem genuine?" He said, "Yes." They say, "Do you know his heart?" He said, "No." Did the state, this is the government, they said, "So did he start crying after you said, 'You better hope he doesn't die'?" He said, "Yes." So then the defense cross-examines Mr. Hooper. They said, "Do you feel Karmelo's emotions were genuine?" "Yes." "Based on your experience as a coach?" "That's correct." When Karmelo told you that Austin Metcalf isn't gonna die, what were your thoughts? He said, "I don't think Karmelo realized that he stabbed Austin in the heart. I don't think he realized that he aimed for the heart. I'm going to guess he wasn't intentionally trying to aim for the heart, but I don't think he realized the severity of his actions." They said, "Did he try to run?" "No, he did not try to run." "Did he follow your instructions?" "Yes, he followed my instructions. And at one point, he said, I left him by the fence and he never moved. And when I returned, he was still there." "Is it unusual for kids to mingle?" He said, "No, it's not unusual. They do it all the time." And this is how the coach ended his testimony. He said, "I've been a coach since 1994. And I love all of the kids, even the opponents, and I treat them all the same. I embrace Carmelo.
Now I gotta say, I have to, you know, flip the script says it was an unlucky hit for Austin. But see, like, does that still justify what happened? I mean, I know you said earlier it was 5 of them to 1, but he was under their tent. And like I read earlier, when it comes to self-defense, the other party doesn't have to have a weapon for it to be self-defense. So does that justify what Carmelo did? Because we also got to keep in mind that, like I said, these are high school kids. High school kids get into altercations all the time. Do every altercation always have to end up with somebody being stabbed or physically harmed in a manner where they could lose their life? Like, we know plenty of instances where kids say things to each other and it just turns into a scuffle. See, I mean, you gotta think about this. Flip the script. Say that all of this stuff happened to Carmelo. Would you still be giving me these same responses? Would y'all still be giving me these same responses? Like, be honest. Be honest about that. I know y'all would probably be like, yeah, I would. I would tell you the same thing, but we know you wouldn't. We know you would. If this was flipped and Austin them stabbed Carmelo, y'all wouldn't be saying, man, it was just an unlucky hit for Carmelo. Or you wouldn't be saying, hey, it was 5 of them to 1. So he had, Austin had to stab him. It was 5 of them to 1. Like, you wouldn't be saying that. And I know you wouldn't. I know people wouldn't. You say follow the law, and yes, you would have said that. See, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy because I know I'm not calling you a liar, but I think most people in this they're not being honest. They're just not. Because I've heard the same people make these claims, saying stuff like he should get the death penalty, and I mean not the death penalty, but if it was Austin, he should be locked up for life. He should get all of this. Like, people would be saying that. They're going to follow the law. They're not going to follow the law. You say Kyle Rittenhouse. See, I don't even want to get into that where, okay, now we're going to use this other case against this case. That, in my opinion, when you saying that, that's not following the law. Okay, we just going to say, oh, this other case where this happened. So, yeah, this is justified now because they did this. That ain't following the law. That's tit for tat. And if you're going to be tit for tat, then just say that. See, I would be cool with people just saying, look, this is tit for tat. White people have done this to us. We're going to do this to them. All right, okay, I can respect that. You being honest. You being honest. But some people ain't being honest. Say, I would give him the same defense that Kyle Rittenhouse was afforded. See, we're not talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, though. We're talking about this case. We're talking about this case right here. But that ain't following the law. Flip the script. That's not following the law. You saying you do one, you do for the other. That's not following the law. Like I said, that's tit for tat. That's get back. You're not following the law.
Hello, Anthony. Because I love the kids. And at this point, I looked at the jury, and there was one lady on the far end that was nodding her head. And that ended his testimony. So that was number 4. Hold on. Now, this is where I get kicked out of the courtroom. Y'all, that concludes my wrap up for the day. It didn't take me that long.
Okay, that was now listen to this. I forgot, I think a couple of people was waiting on me to play this, but I had to play that. because this is another guy who said that he viewed the surveillance video, and this is his account. And I haven't even watched it all. I watched like the first couple, and I was just like, I'm gonna save it for the show. But let's see what he got to say, man. This is crazy. Right there. Right there. He said it was clear. Oh, my bad. Hold up, y'all. My bad. Let me start it over. Listen, this is the guy.
You seen the video on 2 hours. Was it clear enough or was it fuzzy or what?
No, it was clear. It was it's clear enough where you can see the actual individual raindrops come by the camera.
Okay.
I gotta tell you, once I heard that, I said, bro, he lying. He lying. He lying. Because the forensic guy said it was grainy, and then he had to zoom in, so it was very grainy if you have to zoom in. And he talking about it was very clear. You could see the raindrops coming. So he just out here just perpetuating lies, bro. This is how black people get confused about stuff. Like, people think that he's doing them a justice by doing this, but I'm telling you, he's doing you an injustice by lying to you. By acting like he's seen a video. It was a clear video. Why would you lie? Now you're going to have a bunch of black people perpetuating this lie that you told. Or they're going to be upset because they're going to think that everything about the video being grainy is a lie. Why would you do this to people? That's crazy. Does anybody not see anything wrong with that? This is wrong. This is wrong. You say they need to show the video or testimony from the video engineer. Yeah, I've said that. But I remember it was like a picture, but it showed it was a camera that was far away. It was in a stadium, but it was grainy. Now, I don't know about the video because I'm pretty sure that's the same the same picture from the video that they're showing to the jury, and it's grainy. Like that picture was grainy. It wasn't even a good picture. It was like it was a low quality camera or something. So how could he talk about he's seen water droplets and it was clear? Like, why would he do this? And just because you're on the side of Karmelo, now everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, he's telling the truth. See, they lying about that. I know they were lying. I know they was lying. And then if the actual video really comes out, then you're going to be upset or you're going to look crazy.
That's how clear it is. You actually see them walking up. You see that Karmelo is already up under there. He's under there minding his business.
Dodging the rain, or
yeah, it was still raining. You know, right. I'm from Louisville, so that day we were under a tornado watch.
Right.
We were under thunderstorm warning, and we know we had already had some light rain then, and it started raining again. Then it was over with for the day.
Okay.
So that's kind of what happened on that day. But they were at a rain delay already. And
I don't know who that is.
During that time when that happened, the twins, their two buddies, and a few other kids, because there was a few kids involved with them. They were all coming from the direction of the middle school, coming walking back up.
Right.
On the video, you can see those four that actually was involved, and maybe about 3 or 4 others that was with them, skipping up, trying to catch up behind. One veered off probably toward his way to go to the coach and kind of distract him a little bit. And then the other 4 came walking together.
See, now he making speculations. One of them went up to the coach to distract him. Like, come on, man. How could he tell all of this?
Went in front of them, went past.
Right.
The other 4 went and they surrounded Karmelo. You know, if you're Karmelo.
And they showed that on that video.
It's on the video.
Okay, come on.
You can see him walk
I'm going
up.
to say little stuff.
I'll put it this way.
Okay.
They actually tell you when you're watching the video, pay attention to this corner right here, because if you look anywhere else, you might miss different things.
Okay.
So watch those 4. Here they're 4 right there coming up.
Right.
That's exactly what they say.
Okay.
And so you have no way to be confused that it's those 4.
Okay.
So they come up, they surround them, and this immediate moment of not even a few seconds of pause, then that's when they jump. And
So
it
they
was,
actually did jump him.
yeah, it wasn't just no touch. It wasn't just all that moment. Yeah, it was a push. It was all kind of things. But Austin pushed, Hunter hit, and then everybody.
He said they jumped her. The prosecution, when you listen to that last lady, the prosecution and the defense never said anything about somebody being jumped. Even the defense, if he had got jumped, the defense would have pointed that out. They didn't even point that out according to this woman. So he's lying. The defense, according to the woman who I just played y'all, who was at the trial, watching in another room, listening to everything, didn't even say that they pointed out the fact that he got jumped. They said that Austin pushed him. They pointed that out. They definitely pointed that out. They definitely pointed out that Austin was the aggressor, but they didn't say anything about him being jumped. But somehow this guy then came to the conclusion that he was jumped. Somehow he then came to the conclusion that he was jumped.
Damn. It's a bunch of bull. Yeah, it is.
Y'all are going to be manipulated by false facts, inaccuracies. People who you can tell where their loyalties lie. And this is why I said this type of trial, you got to have a camera in there. We have to see, the public has to see what's going on. We have to. We just have to, because you're going to get a lot of this crap. He knows that the public can't see the video, so he going to come out and just tell you whatever it is that you want to hear based on what side he's on. See, if we could see what was in there, I could come to my own conclusion about what I saw. Shaq Gravy could come to his own conclusion about what he saw. Flip the Script could come to her own conclusion about what they saw. Flip the Script say, I'm like this. You take a risk when you attack people because your victim do not know your intent. Do not do it, especially if you're as big as him. Shaq Gravy say, people be tripping.
That's one. But at the same time,
So it's more than the twins that got some licks on
four.
So it showed that in the video.
Yes, in the video. So again, you got Hunter and Austin standing in the middle.
Okay.
And you have the light bright boy here and you have the darker boy here.
Okay.
And they jumped him. Let me read the comments. Black Tucker Carlson says they refuse to release the video because it vindicates Karmelo Anthony. NY Strong says if he was jumped, my take is self-defense, same as Chud the Builder. If that's the case, it's going to be difficult to prove guilt unless they dwell on why he had a knife at this particular event. Always good to see the facts. Damn, somebody done pulled up the dude information. It says whether you agree or disagree with Karmelo, you champion this scum. And they put his whole, he's a sex offender. It says Morris Dwayne Turner, indecency with the child. Wow. The internet is brutal. Do you hear me? The internet don't take no prisoners, bro.
What the oh shit.
Damn, here you go with the racists. Now you got the racist that came out. He say, you stupid N-words. He was, 1, suspended from school, 2, at a campus event with a knife in the wrong team tent. He was suspended from school. Now, where did he get that information from? I haven't heard anything about Karmelo being suspended from school. Yeah, he was at a campus event with a knife. That was wrong. He was in the wrong team tent. That was wrong too. But suspended from school? Then he says we cannot have a free and open society while trying to placate 85 IQ. He just want to be racist. That's not the type of shit I'm on. He just want to be racist just because he hate black people. So he's being fuck him. Wayne says other media in the courtroom stated the complete opposite. They said Austin was the only one putting hands on Karmelo, and they said it wasn't even close to 4 people attacking him. Regardless, you said nothing in this video just justifies being stabbed. Absolutely nothing. That's what I got from it too. Like I said, nobody else was saying what he said. Nobody else came to the same conclusions that he came to. Now, they did say that Austin was the aggressor. I mean, he was. What is this clip?
There are online rumors that started at least by some in the Anthony camp that he was jumped by 4 guys and then his act was therefore in self-defense. And the video you're telling me does not support that allegation.
Not even in the least bit, Will, not even close. It was one-on-one. You can absolutely make out that there's 2 people that get into a scuffle. It's very, very short in duration. The contact between the 2 of them probably lasted less than 5 seconds. And as soon as the push went the other direction, which presumably is when he was stabbed, you can see everybody, completely scattered.
There are online rumors.
Man, people got to just stick to the facts. Don't get caught up in that. But if people want to be like that, I mean, go ahead, man. I can't stop you. You know, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not the person that actually read the police report where nobody said anything about anybody being jumped. I didn't do that. Flip the script says he was never suspended. I believe it. I don't think he was ever suspended either. I haven't heard nobody in this, even the prosecution, they would have pointed that out that he was suspended, because how would he be able to attend a track meet if he was suspended? That's a lie. What are they charging him with? I think they charging him with first degree. Ain't that what I said in the beginning? Let me see. Yeah, it's first degree. They charging him with first degree murder. Glenn Lowry says, I would imagine they're charging him with murder for stabbing that boy. Flip the script says, in the state of Texas, as long as the blade is under 5.5 inches, it's legal to carry in the state. I think that's what it was. Let me double check that. How long? Yeah, you're right. It's 5.5 inches. Glenn Lowry says, doesn't matter whether he's allowed to carry it or not. He used it to kill someone. Man. But like I say, this case is gonna have all type of turns. You're gonna have all of this speculation. They could get rid of this if they just had cameras in the courtroom. If they just had cameras in the courtroom where we could all just sit down and watch it for ourselves and come to our own conclusions, we wouldn't even be dealing with this. Now, you see what I'm saying? We are still getting speculation, even though the trial is going on, even with the evidence. The same thing that was going on before the trial started and after Austin lost his life. But instead, you got this judge that don't want cameras in the courtroom, which is stupid. If we had cameras in the courtroom, we could all sit here and have honest discussions about what's happening. You're going to continue to have this speculation. Even after he is found guilty or not guilty, you still going to have a bunch of speculation. You still going to have a bunch of speculation. Because nobody really knows what's going on. We're getting secondhand accounts of all of this shit. We got people who was at the trial and then they come out and tell us. You just got to follow the law concerning knives and then follow self-defense. Yeah, but But once again, if that's the case, we're going to have a bunch of people. You setting a precedence for all types of high school students to stab and kill each other. Then what we going to say? If you start getting this uptick and everybody getting stabbed for, oh yeah, so-and-so we was in the lunchroom and he was picking on me. Yeah, I just so happened to have a 5.5-inch blade in my pocket and I stabbed him. Oh yeah, that's justified. He was messing with you. Then I guess it was justified. You know what I mean? He was just defending himself. And then the next week, yeah, somebody else was in the classroom and they had a 5.5-inch knife in their pocket, or they was, walking off campus or walking to their car and they got into an altercation and he got pushed, so he stabbed him. Okay, yeah, that was justified. Then everybody gonna be like, damn, this is crazy. All these high school kids killing each other. Dude, some of y'all won't make it in Texas. You push somebody, they can shoot you in Texas and get self-defense. I'm in Texas. Flip the script. I already said all of this. I already know all of this. You talking to the wrong person with that one. I'm in Texas. Charles Coward says they should have tried to stack the charges and went for manslaughter because I don't think they're going to be able to prove first-degree murder. Yeah, I don't think it's first degree. I don't think it's first degree either. I agree with you. I don't think it's first degree. I don't think this is not first degree in my opinion. This is not first degree. Well, it could so easily go from school shootings to school stabbings now with this happening. That's what's going to happen. But people talk like this until it happened to them. Then they going to say, they need to charge that boy. He stabbed my son. He killed my baby. He didn't have to stab my baby. They weren't even fighting about nothing. He didn't kill my son. Then they're not going to have this same thought then. They're not. They're not. Well, regardless of what happened, it was a terrible effing thing that happened. That's true. Fort Worth, I'm not far from there. I'm not far from Dallas. I'm not far from that area. But yeah. I mean, look, hey, I appreciate everybody coming through. Y'all check out the show. Check out the channel. As far as this trial is going on, I'm going to try to go live every time I get some information about it and just come on here and talk about it, which should be every day if it's some new stuff, which should be new every day. But everybody who came through, though, I appreciate y'all watching the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure y'all hit the subscribe button. Leave some comments. Turn on the notification bell if you're new over here. But the ones who knew, you may not agree with everything I say. I mean, I just gotta keep it real with you on that. You probably not gonna agree with everything I say. I'm not here to just make you feel good just because we black people. That ain't me. No, we definitely need to teach sportsmanship again. We definitely need to teach sportsmanship again. But yeah, like I said, everybody who came through, I appreciate y'all. Whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Rumble, appreciate that. Say, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. We don't put up with that dumb shit here. That's what's up. I hear you. So yeah, Glenn Lowry, appreciate you. Flip the script, appreciate you. Charles, I appreciate you. Tim, Gen X, Ambitions of a Rider with the gifted membership. And she gifted it to Glenn Paul. So Glenn Paul 3271, you got a membership. So I appreciate her for doing that. Gracias. Appreciate you, even though I had to kick you out of here. John Stevenson. Appreciate you. Kevin Kels. Appreciate you. Illuminegro. HRP Fayetteville. Appreciate you. Surge. Appreciate you. Is anybody else? I wish they just had a list of everybody who came through so you could just shout them out. But that's pretty much it. Oh, Dark Kent. Oh, can't forget Dark Kent, truck driver. Miss Courtney came through earlier, long time ago. So yeah. Glenn says one boy lost his life. The other boy has lost his life also because he killed someone, and he'll pay for this, and then he'll have to deal with this the rest of his life. That's a fact. Glenn says, I'm not taking up for either one of them. I'm just saying when a tragedy like this happens, it affects both sides of the people's families, everybody. Yeah, yep. That's what I'm saying. And, you just got to stick to the facts. Stop being so emotional. I think people are just too emotional, or they've already picked a side. And that's why they can't go through the facts and just take the facts for what they are. They have to, if the facts don't align with what they really think, then they're gonna spin it in their mind. Well, yeah, he should be justified to do this, or yeah, he should be able to act like, you can't do that. You just can't do it. But yeah. Anyway, I appreciate everybody coming through, checking out the channel. Y'all hit the like button, subscribe button, turn on the notification bell if you're new to the channel. Make sure y'all hit the like button if you're on the vertical side of the stream. Double tap the screen. That will be a like. If you're on the landscape side, just hit the thumbs up. That will be a like also. And as always, man, I appreciate y'all. And I'll catch y'all on the next video. Peace.